So Prince says, just wanted to say Frankie stuff works. It's helped my client get 3 e-commerce brands interested in his email services from just 50 messages. He was sending like thousands of emails and using crazy expensive software to get 0 responses. I think it's time to join the Wolfpack. Yeah. Caitlin says, I gotta lean a little closer, my eyesight's getting bad. I'm getting stuck on my offer. I want to generate more leads for landscaping businesses, but the decision makers tend to be pretty old school. Most of the time they have 0 interest in learning about the technology, just want to know what they can expect for the results. Ideas, is there a straight up formula you use to like forwarding? Question. As far as there is a small niche that I can absolutely dominate because not a lot of people are looking to it outside of attorneys, how can you tell me if a niche audience is too niche? There we are. Welcome back, everybody. Another exciting week of good old agency questions and a bunch of you guys geniuses building cool stuff, making a difference in the world, growing your lives, affecting your clients, helping your families, and just going against the grain and doing cool stuff. Like in a world that wants conformity, you guys are doing cool stuff and traveling the world and seeing places and having experiences. So I'm stoked about that. Couple little quick little announcements just before we get rocking and rolling. Couple of things that we're kind of building behind the scenes, just so you guys know. I've been working with Rebecca Duran because every single time we mention something about her IP licensing agency, we get a lot of questions because, you know, like it's a much easier thing to deliver. And I'll tell you why is because what clients are buying is access to your marketing materials instead of you as a service provider. And therefore the value is things like landing pages and ads. And so they're not buying you, right? Like it just makes it a lot easier to deal with them. And so she has clients who stay and pay for a long time. And it's been a 7-figure agency for a while. And it just works. It's easier. So we want to share the magic of that. I've been also hard at work. That sounds like dirty when I say it. No, I haven't been hard. I've been writing a lot on book 2, I should say. And that's coming along, and we'll be showing you guys how to get passive automated recurring income as well as the thought process behind it so that you guys understand, because if you see the principles, you could make it work on Instagram, you could make it work on Facebook, you could make it work on YouTube. We happen to be doing it with YouTube right now, but I want to show you it's literally everywhere. As well, like I've just been making the Wolfpack sexier, at least, you know, like everybody says you got to send all these messages in the world, and we don't do any of that stuff. Like you have to grow an agency. It has to be a grind. I send maybe 1 to 5 messages a week. We co-create value with other people. It takes us anywhere from like 5 minutes to an hour to record something together. They go and disseminate it to their people, and then people come to me and say, I'm interested, and then we use video to close them. And so for the most part, like from an activity point of view, I'm sending 1 to 5 really short, stupid, simple 3rd grade messages that anybody could write. And then we co-create some content. People come to me, and like it's closed over video. So like there's very little activity in that. It's very leverage. I think most people miss that. And this carries through the client relationship after, because if you sold them through video, it's much easier to communicate through video. And it's much easier just to tell them this is how we do it. We talk through video, so it'll be normal. So I've mapped that whole process out into templates and steps. It's super easy. That's inside the Wolfpack. For those of you guys who are interested, you can check out beyondagencyprofits.com/Wolfpack. And that's about it. Those were the things I wanted to tell you guys about, at least that I wrote down before we jumped on here. So anyways, let's get into the good stuff. That's a long build-up. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. Nothing but pure shenanigans as always. Welcome back, guys. Let's get into the questions. Let's see what you guys are building here. So Prince says, just wanted to say Frankie stuff works. It's helped my client get 3 e-commerce brands interested in his email services from just 50 messages. He was sending like thousands of emails and using crazy expensive software to get 0 responses. I think it's time to join the Wolfpack. Yeah, by the way, this is, if I could summarize my sort of philosophy that I want to share with you guys, is like get more out of less. right? Like people send thousands of messages and things like that through software. And then it sounds like a shortcut in the beginning because you're like, well, I can get the software to do it. But then you got to like warm up emails and you got to like scrape data and things like that. And you end up putting all these inputs into the software. It ends up being more work in the fucking end than just Googling somebody, taking 2 minutes to see who they are and write them a heartfelt message that takes 3 seconds to write, right? Like it's actually way less work the way we do things, and there's no tools and software and things like that to manage. Like people ask me all the time, like, what email servers you guys using, warming up and DKCIM and all this shit? And I'm like, I just write another human and they usually want to work with me, right? Like that's the magic. So point I wanted to make with this is this. I'll tell you, there was a period of time, okay, and many of you guys are around my age, so you will remember this when it happened, is they came out with these automated voice things, which are everywhere now, where it says, thank you for calling the Frankie Fihn hotline. Your call is important to us. Para servicio en español número dos, right? Like, and press 1 if you are trying to do blah, blah, blah. Press 2. And then what ends up happening, by the way, with all of those is they suck and they're fucking annoying. And what you end up getting through to finally to a real human being who asks you for all your information. They say, oh, I need to transfer you over. And then the next human being asks for all your information anyway. And then you're like, what was the point of putting all the fucking stupid numbers in the phone? And everybody adopted this for one simple reason. I should say 2 simple reasons. Reason number 1 is because it's easier than having a human being do it. And 2, it's cheaper. Right? And so I see this happening with AI and outreach where everybody's going to be like, I'm going to send mass messages. And what ends up happening is the places who kept like a real human being going, hey, this is Frankie, how can I help you? You're like, shit, a real human being? Like, I feel like those people are going to win in the face of AI is the ones who like keep the basics of real customer support, like actually giving a shit, trying to actually help people in the age of automated messages. So I'm not saying like don't do the AI and things like that. Like we have tons of people in our circle having success with it, but like don't be so quick to automate 10,000 messages that you never wrote one good one. Right? I'd much figure out the how to write one good one. As one of my mentors says, effective before efficient. And I see this all the time where people want to scale before they've got it working. They want to scale before they've got it working. They want to send 12,000 fucking messages, but it's never worked. So you're just scaling 12,000 messages badly. Right? So I'm not ranting at anyone in particular because I've done it both ways, but I want to show you guys like part of the reason the methodology works is because we're just having real conversations with real human beings and we're cherry picking them strategically for the ones who like are the most connected and have the biggest audience and have the most influence in our space already, and just co-creating cool stuff with them. Like it's really not that complicated. At least that's our preferred way of doing it. Now, there are other ways of being successful with that, so I don't want to say like this is the way, but I'm very passionate about it because I think it saves you guys a ton of energy and effort and headaches that usual people stuff. And I see Miro, we got Cole. All right, finally, I didn't even look because the messages haven't been working, but woo, my man Cole says what's up. So here's another little rant. This was more a comment than a question, but a rant is incoming because I think it'll be helpful to you guys. Oral says, one of the nicest aspects of being niched down, I can let others do the dirty work of acquisition and sit back and wait until the shoe buyers knock at my door. I call it MBL, marketing by laziness. Frankie Fihn, you should probably for sure have a better term. So attached with this message, by the way, because I know obviously you guys can't see the question that I see on my end, but there was an image, and it's somebody who said, like, basically, like, we want to partner with you guys and sell your stuff, and we got a bunch of people. Is there a way we could, like, white label or package your thing? And so they're going to go sell this person's services for them, which we did, by the way. I actually started, just so many of you guys don't know this, but my first agency in like way back in 2007 was a mostly plastic surgery SEO agency, and we were a white label agency like 10 years before white labeling was a term. And so it had a level of built-in leverage in it that mostly like we had other web designers who would go out and sell our SEO services. So even back then, like I figured out how to circumvent this, the sales calls. That was largely by accident. And by the way, I didn't like intend that back in the day. But when I look back, I was like, wait, that's a way smarter way of doing it. It's having other people sell and promote your stuff. And so about 3 to 5 times a week, we would just get a message where a client would say, hey, we signed so-and-so, here's a payment for you, here's the information you need to get started. And that was really it. Like 3 to 5 times a week, payments would show up and new clients would show up and people would send them over. And so I've said this time and again, but I don't think enough people hear it. And so I'm going to keep ranting about it until like people really get it, is there is a hidden metric in this internet business, and it is called energy. Everybody is so focused on the monthly recurring revenue scoreboard that they don't pay attention to what they actually have to expend energy-wise to earn that. And so I see this time and time again, is where people say, like, I just want any fucking dentist who's got a credit card. And then you get like 10 clients, and it turns out one of them is like super high maintenance, and they're draining, and they want 50 phone calls, they want updates, and they got questions every day, and when is this going to work, and why is that, and can you use my tool instead of your tool, and I need this graphic moved over here, and they're just like really fucking high maintenance. And if you look at that as an energy thing, like all of a sudden whatever they paid you relative to the amount of energy it cost no longer seems worth it. So once you recognize that like the energy is kind of the secret metric, you can be purposeful and intentional about it, about like maximizing your monetary output for minimum energy input. And so, Oral calls it, obviously in this case, marketing by laziness, but it's being strategic and intelligent where everyone else, I'm telling you, I can't say this enough. People always laugh, but most people's marketing strategy is not like a focused rifle. It's like a shotgun. It's what I call the internet bukakis, like just blast our stuff everywhere instead of like really focusing on like where are the key opportunities here. And then a lot of times generating those key opportunities is super simple, right? It's not very hard. Those people have needs, they have problems, they have challenges. If you help serve their mission and at the same time serve your own, like you can create synergy where you're helping both parties involved, and they'll happily promote you and sell you and do all the fucking work for you. That's the real magic. Is when you get partners and then they go spread your stuff on social media and promote it and blah blah blah. Like I gave the example just because this is one example of the thing I'm talking about. People can wrap their head around. It's like if you go on a podcast, those people are going to promote the podcast for you, and they already have an audience and they already have a following. It's or if you go speak on stage, right? Like, or if you go do a webinar with the key industry association that needs valuable stuff to share with their members, right? So there's so many ways to do this. There's actually 7 of them, and I've got them all kind of documented step by step. But it doesn't need to be as hard as everybody makes. Like everybody goes right to grinding. I'm not against like working hard, but don't like work inefficiently. Like I don't know if you guys ever seen the Amish. The Amish, they don't use any power tools. You go 5 miles up the road and they got power tools. And if you watch them build a house, like they're still swinging hammers and doing everything inefficiently. And it's like, they have religious reasons for that, but you guys don't, right? Like don't build a house Amish if like a power tool has been invented. And if you can hire a construction company that already knows how to build it, then it's even less energy for you, right? So that's a conversation for another day, but I don't want you guys to work harder than you need to. Anyways, let's talk sales. This was one from Dan. Actually, maybe want to tag him if it'll work right here. Let's see if this works here. There we go. We'll tag some Dan. So this was Dan's question, and I think this will be useful to a lot of you guys because I've seen this happen time and time again. I get a lot of variations of this question. He says, hey all, still in the early stages of building my agency, doing trials in return for testimonials, struggling to get clients on board. I feel like the sales part and talking on the phone is letting me down. Any advice or scripts you can recommend to help me tweak the process and keep them engaged in my service? Constantly getting inboxed by the booked appointment bros, but I'm fresh out of rupees. Cheers, Dan. So there are a couple of things that I think would help most people to get better at this whole sales process. And I think they misunderstand sales process to mean phone calls. But we're going to go into that in just a second. So the first thing, there were 5 things I wanted to say specifically on this. And the first of those things is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't close on sales calls is because literally their focus is in the wrong place. And if you could put a voice to it, it's their own service, their own sales, need to make a sale. And so they think a phone call is to talk about like potentially trying their service and what their service can do for them kind of thing. And I understand why people think that, but that's like literally the worst place, because that's about you, and that's the thing they give a fuck about the least. And so what you want to figure out in simple terms is them and what they are building, and then see how and whether or not you fit in. And what you'll find is, by the way, if you really listen to that conversation, 10 times you hear it, 8 out of 10 times, whatever you do is going to be the best option to help them build that. But it's different things to different people every single time, even though it's the same shit over and over, right? Right? Like one person wants to get to 100K a month because they want to, be able to take their kids fancy places and travel the world, right? Another person wants to get to 100K a month because, they want to take care of a sick mother or something like that, right? So the reasons and stuff change, but like the goals are, you hear the same thing over and over. But this is really, really important, because if your focus goes to how do I make a sale, me and my thing, you won't make any fucking sales. If your focus goes to who are you, what are you building, what are you trying to do in your business, you'll make better calls. They'll just be better, because it's not about you, and you have to have patience, and you have to be able to listen. And the way you guide and direct that towards a sale is by asking intelligent questions. Now let's talk about what I think the two most intelligent things that people, would be thing number 2 and 3. This will help you get better at calls. So thing number 2 is, I cannot say this enough for people to really understand it. It is, they are buying their way out of a problem and not into your solution. Let me say that again, because I don't think enough people really understand what that means. They're buying their way out of their problems, not into your solution. And so what everybody wants to talk about is my solution, my SEO, how we're going to get you to number 1. We're going to get you more calls and more leads and more sales at Frankie's More Emporium. Simmer down on the more. They're buying their way out of their problems. So what do you think would be intelligent questions to ask at that point? Your problem. Mr. So-and-so, can you tell me a little bit about your situation? What kind of problems are you guys? What kind of challenges? How long has it been like this? How many leads have you been short this month? What did you do? Well, the guys, you didn't have any work for the guys 3 days a month. What did you do? You paid them and they didn't do anything? It sounds to me like you just need a way to be able to get steady work for these guys so you can pay them, right? They're buying their way out of the problem, not into your shit. So focus there. And I say this, if I want to be more specific on thing number 2, it is think more about this as a symptom, not as a problem, because they don't usually understand the deeper level reason it's happening, right? They may not be getting enough calls because they're fucking 24th on Google. You know that. They don't know that. So you want to talk about the fact that you're not getting enough calls, not the fact that you're 24th on Google. And if they get number 1, it'll fix all their problems, because they don't know that you do, right? So that's the thing, is you focus on the symptoms. Now, the next piece of it is, I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase, but 2 guys are running from a bear, and one guy says to the other guy, oh shit, I don't know if I can outrun a bear. And the other guy says, I don't need to outrun the bear. I need to outrun you. Right? The bear, if I'm faster than you, the bear ain't gonna get me. And so thing number 3 is, a lot of times we think we have to have this perfect, I'm gonna solve all your problems, you're gonna get so many leads and so many sales, and you are gonna scale to the motherfucking moon. What's up? Hetty says, hello from Africa. Dude, this is so cool to me how we get people from all over the world. So you do not have to solve all their life problems. You just have to be better than what they're doing now. You don't have to outrun the bear. You just have to outrun whatever it is they're doing now. So if all you have to do is be better than what they're currently trying to do, what do you think would be an intelligent line of questions to ask on a sales call? Mr. Prospect, what are you guys doing now? It sounds like you're trying to keep the guys and the crews busy. What are you trying to do? Well, we tried some Yellow Pages ads back in the day. That didn't really turn up much, and we've been mostly just getting our business from word of mouth and hanging up signs and knocking on doors. I'm geez, man, that sounds like a lot of fucking work. Are you open to another idea? Because if you guys went and did that online and got from 24th to number 1, people would be calling you all the time saying, I found you on Google, and your crews of guys would be busy. You see how that makes sense? Right? So just to recap, and these are on the sales call things, that the 3 biggest issues I see is, one is you're just focused on your shit, so you talk about your shit, they just do not give a fuck. Focus on them and what they're trying to do. What are you building? Number 2, talk about the problems they're trying to buy their way out of. And 3, talk about what it is they're doing now. If you do those 3 things, I swear to God, you'll make way more sales. And you don't have to be like manipulative. You're actually helping people. Like I used to be like, and so everybody always asks me about scripts. Like there's some magic script, and I prefer to work with milestones. Like I'm trying to find out what problem you're trying to solve. I don't know what that is going into the call or exactly what questions I'm going to ask, but I know we're going to go into that part of the discussion, right? So I don't need a script to do that, right? And I'm going to go into like, who are you and what are you doing now, right? I don't have a script or line of questions, but that's a framework. I know we're going to go into that place in the conversation. And therefore, then that positions them where you can present a solution. So those are the 3 things I wanted to mention on the call. Now, I said there were 5 things because there are 2 things. And these are 2 things nobody talks about in sales. But Frankie Fihn's going to give you some real talk here because I don't think enough people talk about this. Thing number 4, there is another hidden metric in this business called, are the right people getting on the call? Okay, and I only know this from firsthand of doing this really, really badly. So there was a period right before COVID where I wanted to put on some live events in Europe. I thought it'd be really, really cool. And I wanted to have people like yourselves on here. And I ended up getting like calls booked left and right. Like on some days I would have 10 hours of calls in a row without a break, and that was like I was in German school all day long, and then I would have 10 hours of calls. I would go right till midnight, one call after another. Ilka would have to bring me food. I'd get like little 5-minute bathroom breaks here and there between calls, and it was just wall to wall to wall to wall calls. I had every metric you can possibly measure. The the ads were getting high clicks. The landing pages were getting high sign up. Excuse me. The webinar we were using to book people was getting tons of people on it. We were getting all kinds of calls. Our cost per call was like $20-$30, which is like, as many of you guys know, if you got a high ticket thing, that's basically like a license to print money. But there was one key issue. Not one fucking person who was getting on the calls with me were the kind of person I was trying to enroll in the thing. So I was trying to get business owners that I could help up level, and I was getting all these people who were dreaming about owning a business but had never taken step 1. And so I was like, well, I'm all for that. I like you guys, but that's not the right kind of person this kind of thing was going for. And so I say this because a lot of times people are so excited that they think automatically 100 calls is better than 6. But if you get 6 of the right people and you get 100 of the wrong people, you're doing better with 6. So like this is one of those hidden metrics. Are you getting the right people on the call? And if you look at that ruthlessly, a lot of times you will find out the answer is no. Right? Like you're not even making offers or the right kinds of offers to the right kinds of people. And so even though you're getting calls, a vanity metric anyway, it might not mean shit if it's not the people you want to buy. So that's another piece I wanted to mention. Now the last piece is the most important piece, and this is the one that everybody misses. It's called pre-selling. People are affected on a call by what happens before the call. Like if you think about this as a river that flows continuously in time, there are things that happen upstream before the call, and a lot of times people don't think this impacts sales, yes or no. I'll give you an example of this done to the fucking extreme on both ends. I did a talk at a lawyer conference, I don't know, I want to say like 7 years ago, something like that, 6-7 years ago. And a week later, I got a calendar booking from a lady in Atlanta. It was a personal injury lawyer. And this is how the call started. The call was about 3 minutes long. And she said to me, "Hey, Frankie, I just saw you speak at such and such an event. And we loved it. We resonated with everything you said. And to be honest with you, I don't even know what you guys sell, but we're here to buy it, whatever it is." Okay? How fucking hard do you think it is to close that call? Like she was a 8 or 9 or 10 out of 10 before we even talked. And so the sale in this particular case was made the moment she saw us speak on stage for a lot of reasons. She probably liked the content. He must be an expert. He's on stage. The way she discovered me, blah, blah, blah. It's presented, it's polished, things like that. And so everybody is so quick to get people on calls, but not everybody is interested in pre-selling people before calls so that the calls are almost unnecessary. And this has been a big secret of ours, and I'm actually going to start in the next little while revealing how we do that, because I don't get on a call with anybody who isn't at least a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 Usually they're 8, 9s, and 10s. Very rarely do I even get a 7 where somebody's kind of like, we're most of the way there, but not there. And everybody thinks like get more calls with people who are like 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. And you can feel it when somebody's a 2 out of 10. They're like, all right, big boy, tell me about this service of yours. Like, why are we talking right now? And they're you know, like almost cold to you, right? Where they're closed off, and you're like, that is a long way to make a sale. As where when somebody's 10 out of 10, as mentioned, they just say, we don't even know what you sell, but we want to buy it, right? And so if you could measure the temperature like out of 10, as I like to do it, before they get on a call, it's very, very different. And the difference is pre-selling. And everybody focuses on getting the call, and nobody focuses on pre-selling before the call, which is actually the fucking valuable thing, just so you know. And so when you pre-sell people before calls, there's something different that happens when you do this. And I'll tell you in very simple terms. Selling is mostly done in a one-to-one environment. Ergo, it is very time and energy intensive, right? If I'm going to make 10 offers to people, I have to do 10 calls. And back in the day for me, that meant like literally 10 hours of one after another speaking to people, right? That's what happens is when you don't pre-sell and you do it all one-to-one. When you pre-sell, pre-selling can be done one-to-many. I speak on stage. There's 1,000 people in the audience. It's pretty normal for 5, 10, or 15 of them to want to buy your shit, you know, either immediately after the fact or in the next little while. Do I know which 5, 10, or 15 they're going to be? Of course not. But I'm just giving the best value I can give to people for, you know, a 45-minute talk. And whoever wants to buy it comes to me. I don't have to sift and sort that or figure that out. So that is the magic of pre-selling. And I rant on this because nobody talks about this. Everybody tells you, like, get people on calls and sell them some shit and get as many booked appointments. And I'm not saying those things are bad, but I would way rather have 6 fucking motherfuckers who are basically all the way pre-sold come in to talk to me and finishing those sales in video if necessary, not through one-to-one calls. And I'll tell you the magic that happens when you do it that way, okay? There's another one of these, third hidden metric of the day. I'm laying all 3 of them. Money is directly correlated to offers made. Offers made, money collected. Those are like very obviously connected. And once you see it, you'll never not see it. You want to make more money? Make more, bigger, better kind of offers. Okay? Now, if you can only make an offer by being on an hour-long call with somebody, how many offers can you make per hour? Right? And sometimes they don't even fucking show up. If you can do like calls and things like that, if you can make offers through video or through, like, as we sometimes do with a Google document, how many offers can you make an hour? Infinity, right? Like, that video is the same every time somebody watches. And so people miss this leverage. And the reason I'm ranting on all this, because not enough people understand the goal is to pre-sell people one-to-many so that when people come to you, they're ready to buy. A lot of times, like, people don't know this, but with the people who are 8 and above, like, I don't even fucking close them through video sometimes. Sometimes I just, like, right over text. Like, well, if you don't have any questions for me, let's just get started. Like, that's it. That's my big close. And the reason I'm able to do that is because they were pre-sold. So if you think about it like a river, right? If I throw garbage into the river and you're like 30 seconds up the river, you'll see garbage floating by. But where you want to look for is look up the river to the source of it. And that's what pre-selling is. What happened before they got on the fucking call? So even if you're doing it completely icy cold, which is okay, make like a thank you page right after they book, full of fucking proof and case studies and details of your offer and things like that, so they can review it before the call and potentially pre-sell themselves, right? So I say this because too many people miss the 5th piece, pre-selling, and then like make sales calls really hard. I'm not saying you can't close 1 out of 10 people and bring them all the way across the finish line. I've done it, but it's a lot of fucking work. I'd much rather just like put out some value, let people self-select who it is, close them through video, and let them decide who wants to buy your shit. So I say that because like people miss the pre-selling, and pre-selling is in many ways more important than actual sales skills, right? If you understand that, like, and so I know you're trying to sell going back to the original question. I know, like in Dan's case, like he's trying to sell free trials and things like that, but they're probably just not fucking pre-sold enough. And so therefore you're trying to like go too far on a single call. And why? You don't need to, my man. Chris Amaro, good point. Dude, I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever, but Chris is my homie and will be forever. It just happens to be, for those of you guys who don't know him, one of the funniest motherfuckers you'll ever meet in your life. Anyways, I digress. Got a couple of questions. Let's get through these. Demetra says, Frankie Fihn, what is your perfect repeatable day when it comes to business? Just like when losing weight, if you eat less and exercise, you will hit your weight loss goals if you stay consistent. What are the day in and day out things you need to do to hit your business goals? Is it making offers every day, trying to get booked on podcasts, etc.? So I don't have, for those of you guys who are interested, I'm not super militant about habits, because what I find, at least for me, is like if I do something like 7 times in a row and then I miss the 8th time, I end up feeling like a bag of shit. As where if I'm like, hey, like do it as often as you can. These things are good for you. And when you miss a day, like it's okay. Because otherwise I'm that dude who like, I'll eat healthy for 10 days in a row. Then I'll have a cookie on the 11th day. And it's like, fuck, we're off the rails. We might as just well eat cake and cookies for the rest of our lives, right? Like that's kind of, I'm that guy, right? So I'll tell you, I do not have a single repeatable day, but I have like a repeatable week. And it's the perfect week for me. And I'll tell you the 3 pillars that I find the most important if you want to expand business. As you mentioned, Demetrius, one of those is offers. And a lot of times it's a function of not just making more offers, but making bigger offers is what I was going to say. A little Freudian slip there. And what I mean by that is like help bigger people to solve bigger problems. You'll up level your paydays just as much as if you message 1,000 people, or if you message one really big person. They can have the same sort of net effect. And I focus on both those variables. And a lot of times, not enough people understand this, but like we're kind of pulling the curtain back big here today. I genuinely think about offers as a giving process. Like how can I give 10 times more than I take? And sometimes it actually takes massaging where I feel like that's genuinely true. But in doing so, what happens is you give and you give and you give. And so the act of selling becomes like less of a take and more of like a spiritually kind of fulfilling process, because you're helping people more. If you really believe something's worth 1,000 and you only ask 100, like in your mind, it's practically a fucking steal, right? So that's part of it, is making offers and doing it in a way where you genuinely feel like it's a give and not a take. Because what happens too, you're less bashful about making them if you really feel like, dude, I'm giving away the farm right here, right? So there's thing number one is in my perfect week, I definitely focus on offers. Second thing is, since we talked about it, I do content regularly. And I'll tell you, content for me is synonymous with pre-selling, right? I'm pre-selling other ideas which will follow later, right? So if you do pre-selling done right, like what will happen is people will come through the other side of your machine, mostly just like ready to go, ready to rock and roll kind of thing. So that's the second thing, is I focus on content. Plus, and for me, again, to make that process congruent with me, I have to have fun making content. And for me, that means like putting stupid, funny shit in it usually, right? Like that's why you guys see me make the Indian voice. I am a Shrambaro, right? Like I have to do that because that's just me. I'm just ridiculous, right? I'm not saying all of you guys should do that, but if I have fun with the process, I'm more likely to keep doing it. And so I'm kind of optimized for how can I do it the longest. And then the third variable is distribution. I'm focused on getting in front of people that have audiences in our space, and just doing that consistently, and doing it in a way, again, where it's a give, like always, like, contributing to them and to their mission and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to help people to do. But what happens is, if you focus on those 3 things, what will happen is you'll constantly be making offers for people to buy shit. Ergo, you will sell shit and have cash collected. If you're constantly focused on pre-selling and making content and having fun with it, ergo, more people will be pre-sold on your shit, and ergo, you will make more sales and cash collect. And then if you're constantly focused on distribution and expanding, as you mentioned, a podcast is an example of distribution. It's not the only one. There's 7 I focus on, by the way. But in doing so, you'll get your stuff in front of more people, and ergo, more people will like and buy your stuff. So I think if you don't have to be as crazy as I am, but I'm also at the level now where I'm like mostly like not involved in delivery and things like that. It's mostly like hands off. But those 3 things, if you do that, like you'll not only like
make more money. But like those are the levers, I guess I should say, that I push on all the time, because they're what ultimately translates to sales and things that I want to do. So I'm not saying you guys have to do all those three things or be as militant about them as I am, but I just focus on like, making offers that give people a lot of value, in creating cool content that mostly is for me more than anybody else. Like, I say this because for like, I don't know if any of you guys can relate, but for like 10 years I had almost nobody to talk to that understood like the kind of work we did. And so I was like, just kind of felt alone. So like for me, like making content for you guys is therapy for all the issues we had with the button won't work on the damn website and all those kind of things we've had. And then distribution, because once you have a mission you believe in, you want to share it with people. And so it's just as much about sharing the mission to me as it is about like, getting in front of as many eyeballs. But if you do those things, you're always giving, you're always expanding, it's always cool, and like always more people show up and want to buy your stuff. And that's really it. Like, it's not super complicated. So, but a lot of times, like, it's simple, but it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy because exercising every day is hard. Anybody who tells you otherwise is full of shit. But it's easy in principle, right? Like, it's like you don't have 45 things to figure out. Just fucking exercise, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Any exercise is better than no exercise, right? So I say that, like, that's the asterisk. But for me, like, I've turned all those three things into a fun process, and so it's become easier to do. Kind of like my kids, by the way. We wanted to enroll them in something kind of fun, and they said they wanted to do Taekwondo, and there's a place like really close by, and I live in the middle of nowhere, so like there's not many things like super close by like that. And it's like, it's a 3-minute drive. And they do Taekwondo, and they love it, right? And it's a fun way to exercise and get out any sort of playfulness and aggression. They punch and kick cushions and things like that from the maestro, who they think is the coolest. If you're trying to exercise by doing things you don't want to do, you're probably not going to stick with it long term. But if it's fun, like karate is for them, Taekwondo, if you have fun with it, like, you're just going to keep doing it for a long time. So I focus on like making those processes sustainable as well. So it's like, you can exercise forever kind of thing. So I hope that's helpful to those of you guys who are trying to kind of develop those habits. Caitlin says, I got to lean a little closer. My eyesight's getting bad. I'm getting stuck on my offer. I want to generate more leads for landscaping businesses, but the decision makers tend to be pretty old school most of the time. They have zero interest in learning about the technology, just want to know what they can expect for the results. Ideas, is there a straight up formula you use to like for wording? Yes. Let me actually just see if I can tag Caitlin in this. Yes or no. Sometimes... No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. Anyways, we tried. So, as far as the offers, okay, so this is a thing. I know it may feel like landscapers are these old farty bunch, like, just tell me what this guy, I don't care about what you're going to set up and what's it going to do for me? And I know that may feel unique to landscapers, but I'm here to tell you that is true of every industry in every way. Landscapers may be a little harsher and a little more rednecky in the presentation of that, but generally speaking, people don't care what you're going to do for them. They care what it's going to be done for them. And so I've used a lot of different analogies over the years. I say, like, don't sell the exercise routine, sell the six-pack abs, right? And nobody wants to buy, like, okay, I'm going to do kettlebells for 3 months, and I'm going to drink broccoli shakes. They just want, like, am I going to be shredded at the beach? If I do this shit, am I going to be shredded at the beach? By when? You're telling me in 9 weeks you can get me a six-pack? All right. I've also used the analogy of an airplane. Like, when you buy an airplane, almost always, like, you're leaving whatever city you're in and you're going to another place. And the most important consideration is not, like, do they have extra peanuts or can I get some leg room? It's like, do they go to Atlanta? If I'm going to Atlanta, like, maybe Atlanta's a bad example because they got everybody flies to Atlanta. It's actually the biggest airport in the world. But, like, the most important consideration, like, do they go there, right? Like, I fly a discount airline sometimes here in La Paz, and I'll tell you why. Because they're the only fucking airline that flies here. Not because they're great at what they do, or I think they're super awesome, or their bag of peanuts, or whatever they're called, Volaris. It's because they leave from here, right? And so I say that because business, a lot of times we want to sell them our process, which is the airline. You want to sell them, oh, we got comfy seats, we got extra peanuts, and blah, blah, blah. And they're just trying to leave Detroit and get to the Bahamas. And all they really want to know is like, do you get me directly to the Bahamas? And so the worst thing you can do is sell the journey to get there. And the best thing you can do is I will get you out of Detroit and the gunshots and the crazy traffic and the bad weather. And we're going to go to the Bahamas and we're going to go to the beach and we're going to have some sunshine and bikinis and we're going to drink out of a coconut. Does that sound okay to you? And so if it may be helpful, there is more to an irresistible offer than this, but it helps to think about it as an irresistible outcome. Right? I'm not saying this is the whole formula because there is more to it than that. But if you can think about your irresistible offer as an irresistible outcome, you'll start speaking their language. And the way you do this, by the way, I laid this out in the book, just 5 things, expectations, right? So they're essentially asking you, what can I expect? And so expectations falls into 5 categories. Number 1, what result? Like, how are you going to measure when it's done? Like, how many leads? How many calls? What would be the kind of result we're looking for? Time. How long does it take? And this is different for everybody. If you're selling SEO, your timeline might be 12 months to get you ranked in New York City. If you're selling database reactivation, it might be like you'll see some stuff trickling in by Friday, right? But you have to set a clear expectation of how long. How much money? Like, what are we going to have to spend to do this? Communication. How are we going to talk to each other? What are you going to send me? When? How are we measuring this? What's going on? And then, what do you need from me? So if you get clear on those 5 things, and I'll say them again, result, time, cost, communication, what do I need from you? What will happen is you get on the same page with these guys a lot faster. Here's what you can expect. 50 to 100 phone calls a month coming through Google. People say, I found you on Google. How long? 6 to 8 months. What's it going to cost you? We're going to have to spend about $2,000 a month, and you're going to have to do that for 6 to 8 months. At the end of that, you'll start seeing like regular, consistent phone calls. Communicate. I'm going to send you every second week. I'm going to send you a little update. What I need from you. I need access to A, B, and C. I need your Google Analytics. I need your Google Business. I'm going to need you to get me into those things. Are we clear on that? Right? So I say that because that's what you want, is to have that crystal clear. And when you're on the same page about those things, they'll stop fighting you. And you'll stop talking about the airline because they don't care about the fucking airline. I also call it the hammer because the hammer, it helps to conceptualize your thing as a hammer. Literally every person who's ever bought a hammer is building something different, even though it's all the same shit, right? Like, it's all the same shit, but it's always different. One person wants to build a deck and have backyard barbecues. Another person wants to remodel the kitchen. Another person wants to beat their ex-wife over the head. Like, there's all these different uses. The worst thing you can do is sell them the hammer and say, we got ergonomic handles, 10-40 steel, the finest steel you can buy in all of Georgia. What you want to do is go, what are you building with it? Oh, we're trying to build a birdhouse. Okay, well then you need this hammer and these screws and blah, 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 right? Like, you want to think about it more as a prescription. What'll happen is, if you get on the page about all those things, what you'll find is you'll stop selling your thing and you'll just start selling, this is what I'm trying to build, and they'll start buying it because they ain't buying your solution. They're buying what it does for them and ultimately what they're building. Guess I missed a few comments. Chris says, I'm in a pickle now, bro. I'm a pickle, Chris. Question. As far as there is a small niche that I can absolutely dominate because not a lot of people are looking to it outside of attorneys, how can you tell me if a niche audience is too niche? I don't know if there's a one-size-fits-all answer, but I'll tell you, I actually think the biggest problem is people are not niche enough. And the second biggest problem is that when they get into a niche, they sell a Me Too solution. And so what I mean by that is, for example, there's a company inside of personal injury, and they're called Alert Communications. They're at least $100 million company. If I had to guess, they're probably $500 million or more. And all they are is an agency of virtual assistants that take after-hours phone calls. So lawyers have a problem where they can answer their phone Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. They got somebody there. Those people all go home for the day. But people still call their Google listings at 3 in the morning. People still call them at 8 at night. What do you do with all those missed phone calls? Those are just lost business, lost revenue. And so Alert Communications created an irresistible offer that said, we'll answer your phone after hours, and you only have to pay each time you get a call, and you use us. There's no flat fees. There's no anything. We just charge a set amount per phone call. And obviously, there's a spread in every time they do those phone calls. And they're not super awesome, just so you guys know. They're not, like, terrible. They wouldn't be in business if they're terrible. But they're very mediocre. This is what they do. They take down the person's information. They say, okay, the lawyer will call you back in the morning. That's all they do. They don't close anybody. They don't sell. They don't appointment book. They're almost, if I had to guess, they're a $500 million company. Now, the reason why they're in business and doing so well is very simple. They're the only ones solving that problem. Literally the only ones. There are not two companies doing that. Not that I know of. Maybe they might eventually have some competitors and things like that. But Alert's pretty much the only one who does it. And they got an irresistible offer to boot. So I say that to you guys because a lot of times people think the problem is the niche. The niche is you're just solving the same shit in the same way as everybody else. Like if you're selling more leads and more sales and more customers and more, you're going to have a hard time selling it. But it's not because the niche is the problem. It's because you're selling the same shit in the same way as everybody else. And chances are, unless you bring something really unique and special to the table, you shouldn't be selling the same shit as everybody else in the same way. Because otherwise you're like, you're just competing. And so I've laid this out a few times, but there's 6 different ways I've found that to easily stand out as in a red ocean as a blue ocean. And one of the easiest ways that I think almost everybody could do is think about being the goal line running back. So if you think about, like, this used to drive me crazy when I play fantasy football. Like there's a running back who brings the ball 98 yards up the field, and then when there's 1 yard to go, they bring in like the steroid big guy, and he bowls over and he gets the final yard. And in fantasy football, that guy gets 6 points, and so does the other guy for 60 yards of rushing or whatever. And the whole point of it is it's more valuable to go 1 yard across the goal line than it is to try and like bring people all the way cold to sold. So an example of this. Mark Diodati and I were having a conversation, and he was struggling to sell Facebook ads, and it was a Me Too offer. It was like, same as everybody else is selling, and he said there's a lot of competition, blah, 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 nobody's biting. And I said, what did you do before this? And he said, I actually used to work in HVAC, which was who he was running Facebook ads for. And I said, and what did you do? And he said, I was a salesperson. I said, were you any good? He said, oh yeah, I sold more than anybody. And I was like, really? And I said, how did you do that? And he said, well, everybody thought it was like some secret closing technique or whatever. But all I did that was different is we make 10 proposals, and 3 of them buy and 7 of them don't buy. I just call the other 7 back and say, like, hey, is like there anything we could have done? Was it money? Was it whatever? And was it service? Was it just too expensive? Like, was there anything we could have done? And he said often they would just say, like, yeah, if you could do it on payment plans, or if you could give me a different price, we got a deal. And he said I would close 1 or 2 out of those other 7 that everybody just threw away. So I'd get 4 or 5 out of 10, and everybody else would just get 3. And they thought I was doing some secret technique, but I just followed up with them and saw if I could address the objections. And then I was like, Mark, why are you wasting all this time generating Facebook ads when these people have, for every 100 deals they do, they throw away 70 of them? Like, why don't you just be the goal line running back for those people? Why don't you just take it 1 yard? Those people have seen ads. They've already read the website, read the reviews. They picked up the phone and called. They had a person drive out to their house. That person talked with them for like half an hour. They gave them a written proposal. That person looked at it and said, not ready to move forward right now. That's 1 yard from the goal line. Why don't you just run it 1 yard? And so he created an offer of, I'll be your goal line running back to run it, to take your turn downs and close them for you. And it stands out. So that's just one example. But if you have an offer that's different from everybody else, what'll happen is all those seemingly overly competitive niches are not. Because anybody who's been in business long enough can confirm what I'm saying. As soon as you solve a problem in business, you got a new one. Like, that's never ending, right? So we're never going to reach a point where all of the problems in your industry are solved. On the contrary, there's always going to be a new one. You see this when you run an agency. In the beginning, like, you just got no fucking clients, and you like need to go sell your shit and prospect like your life depends on it. Then you get clients, and all of a sudden you got fulfillment problems. And if you do that long enough, eventually it'll turn into hiring problems. And if you do that long enough, then you'll have to manage people. And if you do that long enough, you'll start having like a big scale giant operation, and you'll have like systems and teams and quality and meetings and things like that. And if you keep going, you'll start franchising it or expanding into other niches as well, and you'll have like new problems in those, right? So you'll never reach a point where the problems go away. So people look at an industry and say, oh, like there's nothing I could do here. Bullshit. There's always unsolved problems. There's always unmet needs. So that's my rant on niches, is like, if you focus more on unsolved problems within an industry, you'll do better than most people do, which is asking, is this niche good? Is that niche good? There's always a fucking unsolved problem in a niche. Go be that person, and you'll be like, paid for it handsomely. In your case, you're already handsome. But for shizzle, my dude,
But yeah, like I just say that because like Chris, like, and this is not just for you, but a lot of times people are focused on, is the niche good, binary, yes or no, and it's really more like, are you solving the problem that like nobody else is solving in a unique way, and then I would also add, like, are you solving it for the right people, like the people with money, for lack of a better way of saying that, in the industry. And if you do that, like, it's usually going to work. And sometimes it's just a 10-degree shift. Like for us, it was like, hey, we'll run Facebook ads for you. Okay. There were a lot of people who said that. And then we said, well, we'll run Facebook ads to get your most expensive cases. Right? It's the same shit, but it's a 10-degree shift of like, well, we're focused on a very specific, expensive type of thing. Now all of a sudden it's different, and we're the only ones offering that, right? So it's not always these massive changes. It's just like little tweaks that kind of open up a niche and make it like very viable. John says, I'm building out a project management implementation for a marketing agency. What metric do you use to measure success? If you were tracking numbers over a period of time, what would you want insights into? So this is one of those things I see all the time where we're not really clear on what the client wants, and we're so excited to enroll them that we sell them in something, and then we wonder what we're actually supposed to deliver. I'll tell you where I see an example of this all the time. Web design. So like if you and a client are not clear of like, I like these kind of websites and want to model something like that, what will happen is you get hired, and then all of a sudden the client will look at your website and say, I don't like that one. I don't like this one. I don't like this one. I don't like that. Move that. Nah, that one's ugly. I don't like this. That. And you literally cannot fucking please them because you never got on the same page about what they actually wanted. And by the way, if you can't get on the same page as them about what they want, fucking run, because you're literally never going to make that person happy. And those are the people who are like refund you and say your shit and all of that because you never got on the same page. And so the reason I say this is because if you're building a project management tool for somebody else, like, they should be the ones telling you what metrics they want to be able to track in there. And if they don't know that, then you have to get on the same page as them, ideally before the transaction, but it sounds like in your case you're already after the fact. But you got to get on the same page of like, okay, what are we trying to track here? And usually, by the way, there's 5 to 10 KPIs in any business that really are important. Maybe leads, sales, follow-up time, fulfillment, like how long are we taking to respond to client requests, how long we taking to fulfill on orders, that kind of thing. Like 5, 6, and as you get bigger, they may evolve into hiring things as well. What's the team's productivity this week? What's our turnover on like bringing in new people and things like that. But for the most part, you're only tracking like 5 or 10 things. So what you got to figure out is what are those 5 or 10 things. But I would caution you guys in general. I know it's exciting to enroll clients and get paid, but if you and this client can't get on the same page about what you're building before they pay you, they're going to be pissed after the fact because they're just going to not know what they want and blame you for the fact that they don't know what this website's ugly. I don't like this one. I hate this one. That one's stupid. I actually had a guy once, just to give you an example of how extreme this can be. So it was a guy that we were doing a website for on a exchange, this is a whole other topic for another day, but there are exchanges where you can trade extra of what you have for extra of somebody else has in business. And so I bought a piece of land by designing a website. There was a builder, and he had like 300 pieces, 300 lots or whatever, and he was building homes on them. And he said, I need a website for the project. Can you build it? Now, this was the most hilarious part of the thing. He had no idea what he wanted. I was just like, well, if I can get a website, if I can do a website for a piece of land, I'm down. So he sent me the copy of what he wanted. This is what I did. Highlight, copy, paste. In those days, I was still making websites myself. Wouldn't recommend it, but I was. And anyways, he bitched about all the typos and mistakes I had in this copy and how horrible it was. Now, all I did was copy and paste what he wrote. So it was his typos and his spelling mistakes and his shit. Now, I probably should have double checked it. But nonetheless, like, I don't really think you should scream at somebody else for your typos, right? Like, I don't think that was really earned. And I say that because the issue was we simply weren't on the same page about what we were building. So don't get into these custom projects and then not know together what we're building, because those people turn into refunds and pissed off shit. And then the flip side of that is you can make the project a lot faster if it's just like, this is what we did. Like, show me 3 websites you like, and I'll try and make it as similar to the 3 that you like. And then
That was it, right? Like once I knew what they wanted and okay, I see the overall look and feel, got it, we'll build that. And then usually the project goes by super quick because you're on the same page. So this is a deeper level thing, but don't try and tell them their metrics. Just try and get on the same page about it. Last question, we got Alex. Alex says, do any of you guys offer any guarantees in your agency? I've seen agency offer leads within the first 30 days, depending on clients using a minimum ad spend. I'm thinking of creating a similar offer as in my 4 years in business. I have never not been able to generate leads in another 30 days so long as PPC is involved. Okay, so when to not use guarantees, okay? Let me say this as harshly as it needs to be said. A lot of the over-the-top guarantees that have been adopted by beginners who kind of read Alex Hormozi $100 million offers, the I'll pay you $1,000 if this shit don't work, the over-the-top guarantees, it works on dumb, unsophisticated, beginner kind of clients. I'm like giving you the realest of real shit here. And I'll tell you why. Because if I'm a sophisticated business owner that's been around 15, 20 years, I've seen enough shit like this come and go to know that you're full of shit even before you do it. And I know that there's no chance you're going to give me this $1,000 money back guarantee. So a lot of the ways people use guarantees, like actually push intelligent, would-be good clients away. Now, having said that, is there a time and place for guarantees? Abso-fucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. And the time and place to use guarantees, it was when it's real shit that you can do or stand behind. And in your case, it sounds like, I guarantee if you do some pay-per-click within 30 days, I've never not been able to produce leads for anybody ever. Right? That's a real guarantee. And a lot of the real guarantees that work are pain points that are not, will I get you leads, but they're actually pain points about the process. So I'll give you a couple examples. I saw a guarantee once that the ad said, I guarantee our plumber will show up on time, clean shaved and showered and not smell like shit. And I laughed at it and I thought that's funny, but I'm like, you know, if I'm calling a plumber, like there's probably a chance like he was just cleaning a toilet an hour before and he probably smells like shit. Like literally like shit. I'm like, if you can guarantee me your guy doesn't fucking smell like shit, I'll probably pay more money just to have you guys come. That was a real guarantee, and it wasn't we guarantee you would be the best plumber or whatever. It just will show up not stinky, right? Like that's literally a guarantee. Give you one more example of this. I have a friend in the legal space, Stephen Fairley, and he was helping a real estate attorney that was in a state where they do real estate closings, and so this person wanted to get a bunch of referrals from real estate agents and mortgage brokers, and he asked them, what is the thing you hate most about dealing with real estate attorneys? And they said, the check. And he said, what do you mean? And he said, well, almost always once they close, the check sits in their title office, and it takes them sometimes 30, 60 days to then pay the realtor or the mortgage broker. And a lot of these people, by the way, they depend on those sales to make a living, and they're waiting 30, 60 days to get paid. That feels like a long time if you're waiting on a $20,000 check that's supposed to pay all your bills of today. And so he made a simple guarantee, which is, I will FedEx your check the day of closing so you get it overnight next day. So within 24 hours, you'll be paid, essentially. All of a sudden, it doesn't matter how much you cost. It doesn't matter what a service is and those kind of things. So guarantees work really, really well when they address clients' pain with the process in ways you're actually certain you can deliver. Like, I can really show up showered. I can really FedEx your check right away. Like, those are real things I can do, and I can stand behind that. Guaranteed, I will FedEx your check overnight, even on weekends. So guarantees are really, really powerful when done like that. When they just... What happens is I don't know if any of you guys have read what I consider the best copywriting book ever written to be Eugene Schwartz, Breakthrough Advertising. He talks about the 5 stages of a market. He says, in the beginning, you're the first person who comes out with some shit. So if you think like Coca-Cola, in the beginning when it's new, all you got to do to tell people is tell them what it is and say, try it. That's it. That's all that's required to make a sale. And then what ends up happening is you start getting copycat things, and the promises get more exaggerated. Our cola is cheaper. We got a better taste. Celebrities drink our shit. And then what happens is markets begin to reach stage 3, where then a new mechanism is created that changes the problems of the past. So you guys have seen this in weight loss. Weight loss is one of those kind of more saturated markets, probably one of the most saturated markets on earth. And one of the things that happens is, well, now, hey, we have a new extract. We got green bean coffee extract, and that'll help you lose weight. And now, because it's something new you've never heard before, all of a sudden the promises of the past become more believable again, because you got a new mechanism. You got something different you're saying. And so, I've never lost weight before, but that green tea sounds like it stimulates your immune system and you lose weight or whatever, right? And then what happens is, again, you get copycat promises and you reach stage 4, where people start, our green beans cheaper. Ours is faster. Ours is pure extract. Ours will make you lose weight 10 times as fast. And then you reach stage 5 of like maximum competition, where it's people are like just beyond skeptical. So most markets are a stage 3 and a stage 4, just so you guys know. And so what most marketers do is they respond by exaggerating the promises. This, like, if you could think about what marketers do with money promises, this would be the equivalent in weight loss. We can help you lose 5 pounds in 30 days, 10 pounds in 30 days, 30 pounds in 30 days, 100 pounds in 30 days, and you can eat all the cake and cookies you want, motherfucker, right? And so anybody who's sophisticated knows you're not going to lose 100 pounds in 30 days eating cakes and cookies. They just know that that's a full of shit promise. And this is the effect of the, like, I guarantee you I'll get you a bazillion million fucking leads, or blah, blah, blah. I had a booked appointment bro message me the other day and said something along the lines of, I guarantee you I will add between $300,000 and $500,000 a month with our booked appointment service. And I laughed, because I was like, the bar is so high that, like, if he made me 75 grand, would I be pissed? Be like, dude, you only made me 75 grand. You promised me 300K, motherfucker. And so the chances of actually fulfilling on that and keeping a client happy are basically zero. Basically fucking zero. And so what most people try and do is they feel this pressure and they try and exaggerate the claims, because everybody else is exaggerating claims around them. And what you want to do is figure out something different to say and focus on small but meaningful promises that can be kept. I will show up not smelling like shit. I've been doing PPC for 4 years, and if you give me 30 days, I'll guaranteed have you at least some kind of leads coming through the system within 30 days if you're willing to spend blah, blah, blah. Right? Small but meaningful shit that you can actually keep is when promises are powerful. When guarantees are powerful. When they're different and they're actually like achievable. Like, I will FedEx your check to you 24 hours. That's a fucking specific, believable guarantee. Where most people think they need to do this is on the money lever, and it's almost always around the pieces, the delivery parts of the process. Like, I guarantee I'll get back to you within 12 hours. Like, you've probably had agencies before that you never fucking heard from after you hired them. I get back to you within 12 hours guaranteed, and I'll text you. Whatever, right? So I'm just giving examples of that because people miss the mark and they think it's about exaggerating the money claims. But what happens is anybody who's not a dumbass doesn't fall for that shit. Like, if you're not a dumbass, you know that you're not going to lose 100 pounds in 30 days eating cake and cookies. You just know that that's fucking nonsense, right? Like, that's just pure nonsense. And this is the effect, is when people make these exaggerated claims, they think they're getting clients, but all you get are like the dumbest, the dumbest, most gullible, broke section of the market. Anybody who's been around is not falling for that. But the people who have been around, the small but meaningful stuff is wide open for them because nobody else is doing it. Everybody else is doing that. I guarantee you our book appointment service will add $300K a month. Guaranteed, motherfucker, I will pay you every cent back. You know, instead of just like, hey, dude, you got a database of 1,000, and based on what you're doing, like, I'm pretty sure I could get you 5 to 20 bookings by Friday by just sending a couple of emails to them. You open to trying it, right? Small but believable shit is the way. So I hope that's helpful to you guys, because too many people are doing the exaggerate. That looks like all the questions we got for now. Appreciate you guys listening to me rant for an hour. Just for those of you guys who missed the beginning, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of insights on some things we're working on behind the scenes that I think will be useful for you guys. I'm all about getting outside the box, and one of the people who's done that brilliantly is Rebecca Duran. They have a 7-figure agency in the martial arts space, and what's different about her agency, for those of you guys who haven't seen our interview, is they do intellectual property licensing. So Most agencies are being paid to fulfill on a service, which means you have to click all the buttons, you have to move all the things, you have to answer all the reports. She is simply renting access to things that work for her. So she has working landing pages and offers and sales processes and things like that. And they do this in her own martial arts studio. And if you're interested in getting the materials that work for hers and you want to click up a few buttons so you can run them in your agency, then she has it set up as where you can rent access to our stuff. And this is very, very different than I'm going to do this for you. I'm paying for the stuff, not for the service. And so what she gets, that's almost no agency gets, is she gets hands-off clients that stay forever and ever and are just super happy with her shit. Like super, super happy, and they're paying for the stuff, not for her, so they don't demand her time and things like that. That's the power of doing it that way. Second thing I wanted to let you guys know, so I should say just before I move on from that. So we're building something like that. That's kind of a step-by-step playlist for those of you guys who are interested in, like, how can I make my own agency an intellectual property licensing agency? Like, that sounds way cooler than what I'm doing. We're creating the playbook on that right now. I'm hoping to have that ready in the next, 2 to 3 weeks. But, don't quote me on the timelines. I just go till it's done kind of thing. Book number 2 I am also writing, and this is all about for you guys getting passive, automated, recurring income streams, anywhere from $500 to $5,000 a month, typically, although they go much bigger than that. And showing you guys not just how to put these deals together, but the deeper thought process involved so you can recognize, because these opportunities are literally fucking everywhere. They're everywhere, and they come out of everywhere really simply because we've stepped into an age, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this is a change that happened in the world that created a massive opportunity for people like you that know how to market and sell. Even if you just know how to market and sell really basic, what happens is it used to be to become a content creator, to make stuff in the world and distribute it, you had to get buy-in of people, right? Like if you wanted to be on TV, you had to get a TV producer to agree to make a pilot, and you had to get a director and writers and the funding power of the studio. If you wanted to make a movie or become a musician, you had to get buy-in of radio and producers and things like that. The last 10 years, all anybody needs to be a fucking star is this. That's it. By the way, cute picture of my kids, right? Look how adorable my little man's face is. So that's all that's needed to be a content creator is a fucking phone. And so what the problem this has created is there's all kinds of people that build audiences, build followings, get attention, and don't know how to monetize it. And it's actually really easy to monetize once you understand the game. And it's far easier than creating the audience. Monetizing it is 1,000 times easier than creating the audience to begin with. And so I want to show you guys that there's just limitless opportunity on social media just to help people monetize followings they've built. And the best place to use this is the dumb shit you're already scrolling. The entertainers you're watching, the cat videos you're watching, the cooking shows. Well, I'm talking for me. I'm a cooking show junkie. Those kind of things. Those are literal monetary opportunities for you to help monetize for them. And so I'm laying all that out for people in book 2, how you can create passive, automated, recurring income. Passive meaning once you set it up, you don't have to do anything ongoing. Automated meaning it is machines that pay you automatically on the 30th of every month. It's recurring, so it's not just a one-time deal. And income, obviously, that's a pretty self-explanatory one. So laying that out for you guys because I think this is needed in the world. And then lastly, I've been focused on making the Wolfpack better for those of you guys that are interested in potentially joining us, beyondagencyprofits.com/Wolfpack. And I'll tell you what I think the value of the Wolfpack is to me, besides the community and all the cool people in it, are the things you don't have to do. Is everybody else is talking about what you have to do to sell your shit, which is you got to message people or you got to run $10,000 a month in Facebook ads and you got to hunt people down. You got to get a lot of calls. You got to jump on these calls. And I don't know about you guys, but that just left me no time to actually fulfill on client shit and actually do a good, even a decent job because you're too busy hustling and grinding trying to get people in the door in the first place. And on top of that, there is just a much easier way. And what we like to focus on, 1 to 5 messages a week. Stupid, simple messages that are already templated out for you guys to follow that a third grader could write. And they are more frameworks than they are scripts, meaning we say the same kinds of things every time, and it works almost every time. I'd say 80% of the time. But it's never a copy and paste thing. We're actually having real conversations with real people. And then co-creating stuff with them, podcasts and trainings and video interviews and stuff like that. and they go ahead and distribute you. That's my favorite part. You don't even have to be active on social media. They'll post your stuff, they'll share it, they'll reference you, they'll put you'll be on 10 different places. This will cause people to reach out to you, and then the magic of how we do things differently, close them on video. So you don't have to actually like do all this work. And if that sounds like your kind of style of agency, where you quote unquote scale it by just sending a couple messages a week, co-creating some cool stuff with people, and then when people say they're interested, you say, sure, put all the details in this video, and then they sign up, and that whole energy carries forward, because now the clients, it's normal to communicate with them through video. The offer was already clear before they join, and also you can manage your VAs and stuff like that this way, and we have the whole hiring process and all that mapped out. All of that is inside there. Like there's literally nothing you have to figure out. Having said that, I mean, I'm not saying stuff cannot be innovated and improved upon. Absolutely it can. But, you know, it's so much easier just to not have to reinvent the wheel and start with stuff that works, from hiring to training to onboarding to delivering, scaling it up. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm not saying we have the best ever. There's lots of cool people who've created some stuff, but we have, for the kind of person who really just wants this, like you're not trying to scale to the moon and sell your shit for 100x multiple, and you really just want a cool business with some easy, chill out clients that pays you super well, that runs super seamlessly and allows you to like actually have a fucking life, which for me means like we went to the water park yesterday with my kids. That's why I kind of got like red tan, and like that's what I do when the money's coming in, right? It's like, if that sounds like your kind of style, you may be interested in checking out the Wolfpack. I put the details at beyondagencyprofits.com/Wolfpack. That's all I got for you guys on Monday. I think an hour and 10 to listen to this old man rants at cloud is enough. Much love. I appreciate you guys, and may the force be with you. Happy Monday, and let's kick some ass this week. Guys, if you like this video, you're also going to want to grab some free bonuses, which you can get at our website, Beyond Agency Profits. To make it easy for you, I've put the links to it in the description of this video, as well as pinned in the top comment. And we've got a couple of awesome things. This is what you'll get after you sign up. You get some of our best training, how we're closing clients over Loom videos, how we sometimes sign clients that is not a misprint for under $5 US, how to demonstrate your value in like amazing ways, trainings, how to have your clients write the best copy of your life, how we're closing without phone calls, campaigns that we've generated for clients that have done over $100,000, as well as scripts you can use to get conversations going with clients in under 10 minutes. All you got to simply do is go there, enter your name and email address, and then this is what you'll see on the other side. So if that's interesting to you, make sure to click the links below, and I will see you on the other side.